Hello and welcome back to MDG Media. This is MPO lead card final back nine coverage of the 2024 Järva Open. If you're just joining us now, you've made a great decision. This is going to be an exciting conclusion to see who will be crowned your next Disc Golf Pro Tour Silver Series champion. I'm Connor Wood, and with me, Elias Luukkonen.
What's up, Connor? What's up, viewers? Nice to be here once again. And yeah, important decision to be here. Also a big mistake not to watch the front nine, but that is less important than the back nine. This is where everything will unfold. More open holes. We only have one hole that is mostly wooded and then all open bombs.
Yeah, really exciting, especially for players of this lead card caliber. Gonna be crafting some big lines here out on the hills of Stockholm, Sweden. We see the chase card though putting up quite a fight. A lot of these players on the lead card have not been particularly hot on the front nine, and they're gonna need to put up a good performance to hold and maintain their positions. Tell us about hole 10, Elias.
Hole 10, one of the weirder holes on the course, 112 meters. I think most players are gonna be throwing something with good stability. You really wanna push the back wood line with a slight hyzer release, hopefully a slightly overstable disc. Land on top of this hillside with your right hand backhand hyzer, take a small skip forward, and after that anything can happen to the disc. You might roll to the bullseye, might not roll at all, or you might even roll 30 meters down the hill.
Yeah, very precise long hyzer line needed to get close. Daniel with very inside release and catching that first initial guardian. There is a flag on top of the basket showing him where it is, but pretty much otherwise blind. Eeka very unhappy with that release and has been questioning some of his timings already in the front nine. The holes are running out here for Eeka if he wants to continue pushing.
Great looking angle from Joona here. You can see he's not quite pushing the back tree line, and thus staying a little bit left of the basket. Just too much speed there. It's really touchy on this hole. You don't want to be short of that hillside, but if you get over it with a lot of speed, you're definitely skipping pretty far. And for the left, it's pretty much a nightmare hole. Hjalmar with a really good shot though.
Oi, oi, oi. That is a shape that we've yet to see here. One of the best shots you'll ever see on this hole. This new pin placement this year has made it incredibly difficult to park. Hjalmar playing that to perfection. Daniel with a good approach there. Going to have an uphill look. Pretty comfortable. This is one of the last really dangerous greens that can offer rollaways of well over 10 meters. Eeka as well with really nice touch displayed there.
Important that the disc lands as flat as possible here. Good for Joona though, as the hyzer putt is landing with the hillside, and look at this. Perfect dead center hit. You can see he's quite relieved. And as we have mentioned, Joona has been putting very well throughout the tournament. Usually more of a great driver and just a solid putter, but I feel like his putting is separating himself even from some other players on the lead card.
I think most importantly, just making his game fully well-rounded now. A player who had a lot of skills in the past. He's now looking to have all of the skills. Also a great putt there from Daniel off the knee. And Hjalmar, fantastic birdie get on a very tricky hole, taking advantage of that near-perfect drive.
And not to override both Eeka's and Daniel's good par saves. Not to be taken for granted on that hole, as we're moving on into the open holes. Hole number 11. Very long par 345 meters. You have a slight gap off the tee. It's a pretty wide gap, so definitely not gonna see anybody missing that. It's gonna be playing great for a hard thrown lefty hyzer for Hjalmar. Most other players might either throw a big forehand hyzer, or the most potential shot for reaching the hole for the righty is gonna be right hand backhand turnover. Either with a mid-range, you can give it some height, or with a fairway driver, throw it a bit lower with some more turn.
Great look there at Joona's compact and snappy form. He's going to want to see this hold the turnover the whole way. A little bit of late stability, but just in time to be caught by the hill, leaving him another good look at the green. Hjalmar gonna have just that one large dead tree to beat. Really the only obstacle in the way for this. And he's gonna have to swing it either behind or over it. You see he has the distance to go well past it, but not swinging back in time. Falling prey a little bit to that slope. Daniel as well gonna be shaping here a forehand. And this is a good line, but it's just difficult to get the distance right and avoid that tree.
And yeah, pretty common result with forehand to be on the outer edge of circle 2. Hard to have that right finish all the way with having the distance. So Daniel having the distance but not the right finish, and this one is just too far left. Even if this turns a lot, it's going to be a bit too far left. And you can see while the shape was really good, starting out on that left side of the fairway, especially with the backhand mid-range, makes the hole so far.
And Eeka just not quite with the same composure in this final round as we saw in the first two. Was really looking like a stone cold killer, and today just a few unforced errors which has kept him off the pace set by Joona and Hjalmar here. Gives that an uphill look, and I mean he looks frustrated to not have put that in, but the errant shot was really the first one rather than that long putt.
Very common results here. It's a hole that 78% of the field is taking a par on. And while I love the throw on this hole that you have to complete to get the birdie, maybe scoring wise not the best separator, as we're gonna have 3 pars and Joona here to be one of 8 birdies in the day. And he has done it. What a great stroke there.
Tough to catch up to this guy when he's playing this cleanly, already coming into this round as the leader. I mean, just leaving not much room for the rest of these players to catch up to him. With Hjalmar there securing the par, there's now a 3-stroke difference between them.
And interestingly enough, 2 players on this video birding this hole today. One of them in the commentator booth, Connor Wood. Congratulations on your birdie on this hole.
Thank you very much. I'll be honest, the tee shot was not great, but I threw it in from about 40 meters, so I'll take it.
That's great to hear. And moving on to a legendary hole. Hole 12 at Järva, 214 meters. One of the most filmed holes on the course because the tee shot is so satisfying to watch fly far downhill. Today there was no wind, so you can throw your glidey, even slightly understable distance driver if you want to get the maximum distance. And the best drives can end up within a very short approach distance, even jump putt sometimes for the biggest arms. And the green, while it's very protected, if you have good touch going in there with a nice spike hyzer forehand or even a low hyzer forehand, you should be fine for the birdie here.
Yeah, the wind playing a huge factor here on the elevated tee. I think in round 3 at this time of day it was pretty calm. It's never completely calm here in Järva, but calm enough that these guys can really try to pump one out. Joona there with some late stability, never really got that turned over, but more than enough distance to give himself a birdie chance. Gonna have a pretty simple approach into the green. Hjalmar shaping a little bit more difficult for the left-handed backhand here. Going to be fading with the slope, but also a very fine position. Will be slightly further from the green. Totally attackable from there, though. And the real key here, to be honest, Elias, is just putting it in bounds. I mean, the distance will help, but you can birdie this from almost anywhere in the fairway. Daniel has smoked this drive straight at the catch cam. That is huge.
That is massive. The bush that you see on the right side of the screen is only about 10 meters to the basket, so Daniel is possibly even inside of circle 2. Just a massive shot, almost 200 meters there. And you can see all of the other players well shorter, 50 meters shorter than Daniel. Maybe he was even a little bit frustrated with his start of the round and trying to get something going with a nice eagle here potentially. As Eeka early fade on the approach, had a good looking release but just a very overstable finish, and that's a tough putt, low ceiling, a lot of trees in the way.
Yeah, and particularly if he's a little bit nervy still, that range with the obstructed look can quickly take away some of your confidence. And Hjalmar, pretty low delivery, but with some healthy ground play, gives himself a good look inside the circle. Joona here just able to step putt the approach on this 214-meter hole, and Daniel is going to be even closer. Might even be looking to capitalize on this eagle look. You see him popping his head over. I love to see as we get towards the end of these final rounds, these players take more risk, trying to find more reward.
And here it is for the eagle. And
Oi.
what a run. I really wanted to see that go in just for the entertainment. And while Daniel, very aggressive play from the tee, I think he's one of those players that does throw the disc more accurately on the backhand the harder he throws it. So potentially even, I'd say that's a great play for him.
And a great quality to have. It's interesting because I think for a little while Daniel was known for his touchy and very accurate forehand, but his backhand is really honestly elite at the top level, and we see him there take the easy birdie alongside Joona and doing well just to secure this late push into the back nine. What was it, Ben?
Sure.
What? Here we begin a pretty tricky stretch of long par fours. Hole 13, 229 meters. You see the fairway narrow at around 110 or 15 meters. A lot of players will be playing a high flex trying to get past it, leaving them on this fairway sloping right to left with a lot of small bushes. Some really good shots can be very obstructed on either the swing or the footing. As you try to get yourself into this sloped green, there's OB long as well as to the left. It's a hole that I would guess has a lot of danger, but if you're comfortable throwing more than 120 on hyzer or straight to flat, it's pretty gettable.
And this is the normal shot, trying to get over the right side bushes with a stable distance driver. I like the position from Joona. He's not near any of those bushes, so gonna be an open hyzer for him. And from that left side, he can throw it pretty far wide out to the right. While Hjalmar, this is already the second round in this tournament, we have seen the same thing from him. Hitting the first bushes, but getting through and so far down the fairway. That is impressive how far he got, even with that bush tickle.
Hjalmar certainly not shy on the power. Daniel here, we just saw him rip one on 12. I think he's looking to do the same here on 13. Elias, you mentioned potentially getting out some frustrations and even going past Hjalmar's. No bushes hit may have given him that extra distance, but also just a good, safe, long line.
Very much though. Looks like he did land just behind one of those small bushes. So potentially in his swing for the next shot. And Eeka, that is just too wide to the right. Needed something slightly more stable. You can see his disc turned over to the right compared to everybody else, hyzering back to the fairway. And now this is a pretty scary shot. He's going over the OB from the hand. So if he doesn't come back in bounds, it's going to be a rethrow. And just barely does by no more than 30 centimeters.
That is a huge swing for him of multiple strokes. Sneaking back in bounds, we see Joona here has put together 3 birdies in a row already on the back nine, looking to make it 4 just outside the circle. Hjalmar also looking to play the hyzer approach, but from the left side. And he's done well to get himself even slightly closer.
Love the angle control from Hjalmar. Not going with a spike hyzer, which does have a high tendency to roll towards the left side OB. A little riskier from Daniel, excuse me, I'm not trying to create an English accent. And that's a solid shot in the circle. 3 looks at birdie, and Eeka here scrambling for the bogey. Should be good for him from about 6 meters.
Joona to try and solidify his solo lead position. And he hates it from the hand. You can see why. Just not coming clean out. And now there's room for strokes to be gained by Hjalmar. Eeka up first though, with a good bogey save, all things considered. That early OB giving him an additional penalty, although did it in 4. Big moment for Hjalmar here.
Absolutely solid. Joona looked a little shaky on the putt. I feel like he did, in his routine, I feel like he did make an extra pump compared to what he does normally. And he's going to be losing a stroke to both Hjalmar and Daniel. Daniel really needs the birdie out here if he wants to have a chance at this tournament. Hjalmar much more in play even with an imperfect last 5 holes. As Joona is going to be in for the par. Not a perfect putt, but good enough to stay in. Moving on to the longest hole of the course. 253 meters. And while I said there is little to no wind, if there is any wind on this hole, it's gonna be a headwind today. So playing slightly longer than that 253 even. Need to get over this OB river on the first shot. Ideally land on the right side of the fairway because the right hand backhand shots are always skipping left with slight hillside. Left side does offer some bushes that don't make it easy on the approach. And the approach, talking about easy, definitely not easy. It's quite easy to get within putting distance, but parking this hole is so difficult. Need to play it a little bit further right of the basket than you would think, because fading out to the left OB is a costly mistake.
And I think, although this shot is not quite where Hjalmar is intending to land, sneaking out OB right, this is one of the few drives that I think actually favors the left-handed player. Both against the hillside, but also ending to the right side fairway really opens up the shot on the second, giving you a lot more flight space and slightly more flexible on the line you need. Daniel has done well with that high hyzer to put himself into a safe position. Joona here, if he can get in bounds, more than likely to catch one stroke back on Hjalmar. And he's done just that, using the stability to keep himself well within the fairway. Critical moments here, Elias.
For sure. And Joona, while he did skip left, he's still clear of those bushes, so has a great chance at birdie. Hjalmar, on the other hand, not a great angle for the lefty to approach the green. He's gonna have to throw something very tight and might even have a bush in his way. As Eeka, perfectly on the fairway. And interesting disc choice here. Not for him, but interesting to see, what the players choose to go with. You can go with a straight to overstable fairway or something slightly more understable. I think I would love to see something slightly straighter or more understable just to not fade to that left side OB.
While I totally agree, you touched on that more than likely headwind, Elias. And with that throw, Hjalmar takes his second OB stroke here on hole 14. Joona, looking to access the green, is going to be using all of the width available to him. A long hyzer that just sneaks through. A little bit too low to swing all the way back left, but having seen 2 OB strokes from Hjalmar, a layup will already be gaining him strokes, taking just a par.
I think he was definitely scared of that left side OB, and maybe if Hjalmar was parked, I think Joona plays a more aggressive shot, tries to get to the circle. But that one is going to be a fun result, as Daniel and Eeka both trying to make it from far edge of circle 2. And now Joona, actually a big opportunity. Another slight pull to the right, similar as we saw on the last putt from in the circle.
And a long look for Hjalmar, just low. As you see the visible frustration, I think he knows as the holes run out that this was a big swing, not in his favor. But he will certainly have some upcoming holes that can continue to create separation, potentially in his favor. But this one will be a double bogey for him, going back to 3 under for the round.
That's going to be a deep hole to overcome for Hjalmar. but it is very much possible. A lot of stroke swings to be had here. Hole number 15 is gonna be a difficult birdie, a relatively easy par, but if we can have that birdie par combo from Hjalmar and Joona, that's gonna make things more interesting. Off the tee you wanna throw a very tight hyzer with ideally a slightly understable distance driver that will flip up and give your disc the optimum distance, ideally all the way around the corner. And then we are going around the second corner that plays great for very high, tight, overstable hyzer. Important to push the back woodline, but not all the way to the woodline. Very touchy shot on the second. And yeah, even the drive, it's quite uncomfortably tight. As you can see, Daniel very inside with the hyzer.
And almost running off the tee. He has pumped that so far. That bush is not going to leave him with much of an open swing, but without that bush, he was also going to be going, I think, way further than he would like to. We'll see Joona here. Look to make a correction on the flip up. That looks nice. Still a ton of distance, but sneaks through to the front. I think if he has an open hyzer swing, certainly going to have a chance to access the green. This is a really funny hole. The initial line is incredibly tight, as you mentioned, Elias, and offering two ways to access the green with either the shortcut or the spike hyzer. I'd say neither of them are reliably hittable, which makes for a hole that birdie requires some good fortune and honestly some good throws as well.
And Hjalmar going for a high turnover. Very difficult shot for the lefty, but he's thrown it pretty well on the far side of the sweet spot, luckily not in a bush. And while he's very far, slightly further away from the basket as compared to everybody else, he does have a great angle. Just needs to hit a high turnover shot that really never fades back. And everything else about that shot was good, but just the fade back was present, not what he wanted. Had that held all the way to the left, he would have been potentially in the circle, and feel like Hjalmar knows that he's kind of letting it go right here.
I mean, you can sense it's just sort of slipping through his fingers. He's so close on these small margins of error. And the holes available to him are running out. Joona here, going for the spike hyzer. It's a very tight window in distance that you need to hit. Often this two spike of hyzers will catch early. Anything that comes out flat will catch the back tree line. Really difficult to access the green cleanly. And Eeka here, without a birdie yet on the back nine, unlikely to find one on hole 15, but a fortunate rollout that will at least keep him clear of the inside rough, giving him this open look.
And almost ringed it in for that first birdie on the card on the back. And Daniel also probably trying to give it a soft bid. Solid one at that, but yeah, we're seeing this hole play out in the way that it usually does. A lot of long putts for birdie. Not often that you find somebody putting for birdie from circle one.
Joona, however, a chance there and just off the cage. Regardless of whether or not he needs those strokes in this exact moment, certainly a player who holds himself to a high standard coming into this Disc Golf Pro Tour Silver Series event with the amount of experience he already has this season, I think really knows that his game fits this course well and that he has all the tools to make a push for the top, as do all of these players here on the lead card. Just coming down to the execution here with 3 holes remaining.
And starting off with the easiest of the last 3 holes, especially with today's wind conditions. No wind, or if there is, it's a slight tailwind off the tee. 194 meters, fully open on the tee shot. You can throw the widest hyzer you'd like to put yourself on the fairway. Stay short of the long side bushes on that left side to create, or at least give yourself an angle for the second shot. Further right you can be off the tee, the better your angle is to the green. Though even if you're anywhere on the fairway, you always have some sort of an over the top lay to the green. But yeah, all about controlling that touch and angle on the approach. And Daniel, he's going absolutely massive off the tee, potentially trying to put it even within jump putt distance.
Oh, he's done it again, Elias. He has cleared that late tree line. Almost everyone else playing this hole is going to be short of that on the hyzer. He gets the full flip up. Here's another guy who could try and potentially push that late corner. And you really don't need to, but both of those guys have smoked it way down there.
And that is a statement from Joona. Having a big lead, still going for the most aggressive shot possible here. This is more of the common shot that you see on this hole. Just a big towering hyzer, trying to find yourself in the inbounds area, and that is a perfect drive. Outshadowed by the two massive bombs we saw on the card earlier.
And it's really all you need to have a pretty good birdie look, honestly. So to see those guys get a little bit more aggressive on the flip up, it's fun for us here, getting the spectating action. Hjalmar just squeaking inbounds underneath that string. Going to be quite pinched on his angle. We have Eeka up first. Going to be throwing a straight flip up line, just catching the last tree that was in his way. Hjalmar here going to be throwing over out of bounds. Needs to swing this back into the green, but pretty open beyond that one late tree. And sits it down before that. He will be having a putt for birdie here on 16.
Now this is Joona to solidify not losing a stroke to Hjalmar. Does have kind of a tester putt left. His putting hasn't been looking as crisp in the last 3 holes as it was for the most of the tournament. And we saw Daniel just a jump putt for the birdie, and this is now a very important stroke.
That one looked a little bit more clean, like his usual putt. I think he feels the weight of these final holes on his shoulders. Hjalmar also a good birdie to make sure with what he can do on these final holes, trying to make sure he maintains pressure on the leader. 17 and 18 are potential score swing holes, so it is still very much in play.
We definitely need a 2-stroke swing on 17 in order for there to be some drama left on hole number 18. And that is definitely possible here. Hole number 17 does offer a lot of danger. A very low ceiling shot to get to the basket. There's this Mando on the left side, forcing players to take the right side gap, which is the gap with the lowest off ceilings. And if you hit that low ceiling off the tee, the branch is extremely sturdy. You might kick even towards the left side of the Mando. So that is the main way you can bogey this hole, of course, besides missing the Mando.
Daniel pushing the ceiling and spinning out beforehand. Going to have quite an awkward angle around the Mando tree. We see Joona now playing that hyzer flip. This is looking really pure. Another huge statement by him. Really hard hole to go long on, and just a fantastic, well-crafted line from him. Hjalmar going to be feeling the pressure now.
And looks like he's also definitely feeling the pressure. Maybe realizing that the win is slipping away, with Joona being inside the circle there for birdie and Hjalmar 4 back. As Eeka, tougher release and even a tougher kick. Kicking right into the gravel path that is considered OB on this hole. Really rare to see somebody going in there. Hjalmar as well playing for the bogey, just pitching out. And everybody besides the leader, Joona, is just struggling on this hole.
And this is a hole that creates a lot of scrambles. Hitting the gap cleanly is pretty rare. It is possible. You can shape a flex to try and make it a little bit bigger, but you see from Hjalmar and Eeka's pitch outs that if you're not in the fairway, it can leave you very little remaining. Very solid step putt approach, but as you mentioned, Elias, it will be for the bogey. Joona completely focused.
Good touch there from Eeka. And Joona for another birdie. Doesn't need it, gets it out of the way. Pushing his round score to -8. The hot round of the tournament is -11 by Morten Brenna in round 2. Incredible round. But after that, -9, I believe, is the second best round of the tournament. So Joona shooting incredible golf right now. Even with the other guys on the card struggling a little bit. Daniel had a great save for the par on this hole, not to overlook that. And we're going on to hole number 18. Tell me about this legendary hole.
Such a fun finishing hole, whether you're on a great round and looking to end strong or letting out some frustrations of a difficult round. You'll have a big drive off the tee going straight uphill. A good drive will land anywhere here after the first 2 main guardian bushes in the center fairway on a very steep slope. The more rightwards that you end on the tee shot will open up your approach angle, but the more left you are, you're more up the hill in altitude, meaning that you're not so steep on the walk up and you'll have slightly less distance as they'll swing most likely a hyzer overstable disc into the green and try to secure their final birdies of the weekend. In solo first, Joona Heinänen with the drive. Anything inbounds here will effectively lock the tournament up for him, and he has crushed it. Picture perfect flex. That is why he is your current sitting champion in first.
Massive shot. He doesn't have more than 55 meters left to the green. And Daniel Davidsson might be one of the only players that could potentially match that drive, but he's fading out left. Near the OB, but gonna be safe. And besides Joona, everybody is just trying to jog for position here. Hjalmar a little bit early, second time in a row. And that right side is gonna be pretty brutal for him. Especially not having that left-hand forehand, which is probably the better shot for the low ceiling he's gonna have from there, especially with no run-up.
Another solid drive there, but just arriving at the base of that tree will create for a slightly obstructed swing. Hjalmar here going to his forehand, but you see with that low release the slope coming into play just so quickly. Eeka as well, although on the backhand you saw him looking for a sort of fadeaway shot there. Made it quite difficult for him. Daniel, from a decent position, catches the high ceiling, comes up just a little bit shy, will be putting towards the downslope. And Joona Heinänen on the approach. Such a huge drive. He has just a short chip shot under the basket to secure his win at the 2024 Järva Open.
What a dominant performance. Not dominant all the way, but just holding solid and beating the field. At least being one of the top rounds every day in the tournament. And Eeka, what a finish for the birdie. Finally getting that birdie on the back nine, and while it was definitely tough watching him play today, he still kept it together quite well, considering how rough it was.
Certainly a weekend that he can be proud of, and Daniel riding the wave here makes an incredible birdie putt as well for a 6-under finish. In third place, that putt was important for him there. Hjalmar also put up an incredible battle this weekend.
Obviously disappointed with his finish. He could have had the chance to win, but he will have plenty of those in the future. But this is the man of the day, Joona Heinänen, winning the Järva x Tyyni 2024.
Your winner for Järva Open x Tyyni 2024, Joona Heinänen!
Fantastic performance and one to be proud of here for this Finnish athlete. On the weekend had 100% scramble rate, 85% C1X putting, 31% C2 putting, and just overall a crispy clean game that takes him home with the trophy. Well done to Joona Heinänen.
And this is a huge turning point in Joona's career as well. His biggest win so far was on the Finnish Pro Tour, which I would consider this a significantly bigger stage than the Finnish Pro Tour.
Joona Heinänen, you are the Järva Open X Tyyni 2024 champion. Tell us about your weekend.
My weekend was awesome. I was supposed to have a vacation week, but then on the last second I decided to come here with my girlfriend, and we had a great time in Stockholm. Enjoyed my playing in Järva, and this is actually my first time competing here. But I have still played here many times before, but first competition.
First competition in Järva, first Disc Golf Pro Tour win. What does that feel like?
It feels awesome. I can now tick one of my this year's achievements off, because I wanted to get at least one win, and now it's done, so I'm really happy.
You put together 3 solid rounds last week and got on the podium this week again and getting the victory. Do you feel like that momentum is going to carry over to the home stretch over in the States to finish off the season strong?
I hope it will carry. I feel like my playing is now pretty confident. My putting feels good, throwing feels good. Everything is slowly clicking together.
Trending in the right direction to finish strong.
Yes.
Congratulations again on a great victory, and best of luck moving forward.
Thank you.
Fantastic, exciting weekend. We see the champion there. Jonas Aalto sneaking into second, Daniel Davidsson in third, Hjalmar tied with Lenny Kemppainen for fourth. Just overall, such an exciting event here as we push towards the late end of the European season. Elias, it was a pleasure.
It was a huge pleasure. Great course, great event, and we're only gonna have one more event on the Disc Golf Pro Tour Europe this season. A little sad, I feel like the season has gone by so fast, but it has been incredible doing the commentary for the whole year. Hope to see you guys for the last tournament of the Disc Golf Pro Tour Europe season next week from Estonia.